Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. It's time for the Astrology and Kabbalah of May 2023. We're going to take a look at the numerology. We're going to look at the Tree of Life. We're going to look at the Chakra Activation. And we're going to look at the general overview astrologically of the month, but more specifically, we're going to look at the first week. We're going to get into that pretty deep. So let's get started, everyone. Okay, so let's get started. We're looking at, of course, the Kabbalah of May. So let's start with the numbers. So we start with the universal year vibration. 2023 is a 7 vibration. The universal year vibration 7. The number 7 is give me time to think about it. It is the path of the chariot, the 18th path on the Tree of Life, called the House of Influence. This is the path that connects the Sephiroth of the Great Mother with the Sephiroth of the Clarifier and the power of judgment. This is the path that connects the energy of fertility, abundance, with the energy of the spiritual warrior, the energy of cutting away the extraneous, making things clear. This is associated with the sign of Cancer, and the Cancer, Mars is in Cancer until May 20th. So from May 1st to May 20th, Mars is in Cancer. So the universal year vibration is working through Mars for part of the month. Okay. The monthly vibration is 5. May is the 5th month. 5 is the number of freedom. Its motto is "Don't fence me in." It is the path of the Hierophant, the 16th path on the Tree of Life, called the triumphal or eternal intelligence. It connects the Sephiroth of the divine masculine or Father God in Hokmah to the receptacle of all powers, which is Hesed. It is the path of Taurus. It is the path of the small, still voice within. A lot of things going on in May in Taurus. May is one of the Taurus months. So we have the sun in Taurus until May 21st. We have Mercury in Taurus all month. Not only is it in Taurus all month, but half the month it's retrograde and half the month it's direct. It actually changes direction on the 14th or the 15th, depending on where you live, where it goes direct. It does not get out of its shadow, however, until June. We also have Jupiter ingressing in Taurus. That occurs on May 16th. This is the first time in 12 years that Jupiter has been in Taurus. And we also, of course, have a new moon at 29 degrees of Taurus, very close to the star Algol, and that occurs on the 19th of March. And now we look at how the two vibrations interact, right? We add them together. We add the 7 universal year and the 5 monthly vibration, and we get the 12-3 vibration. The 12-3 vibration is a very powerful and magical number. It is the path of the Hanged Man. It is known as the 23rd path on the Tree of Life, called the stable intelligence. The stable intelligence. The connecting the Sephiroth of strength, which is Geburah, with these, and Geburah, which is the Sephiroth of strength, and the eliminator of the useless, with the Sephiroth of reason and language. That's Hod. So it connects the Sephiroth ruled by Mars, Geburah, and the Sephiroth ruled by Mercury, which is Hod. This is the path of Neptune. Now, Neptune is one of those transpersonal, far-off planets. and it moves very, very slowly. We do actually, Neptune actually moved into Pisces, the sign of its rulership, in 2011 and 2012. It moved in 2011, moved back out, and then in 2012, it moved in for the next 14 years. It's going to be there until 2026, when then it moves into Aries. This month, we have two major aspects to Neptune. We have Venus making a first quarter square to Neptune on the 4th. First quarter squares are crises in action. We feel the need to take an action. And when we're dealing with Venus and Neptune, it generally revolves around love. It's very difficult to see clearly with this combination. So we need to be careful about the actions that we take. We also have Mars making a trine to Neptune. This is a waxing Leo side trine, so it's a trine of self-expression. Mars and Neptune really, honestly, only really work together in a way that we can almost handle them or almost work with them. In my experience, sextiles and trines. Trine is a flow of energy, so there's a lot of flow. Neptune can be mass consciousness, and Mars is channeling that, and that occurs on May 15th. So if we look at the tree of life and where these energies fall on the tree of life, we can see here that these are the paths that are activated this month via the numerology of the month, year, and the combination of both. We have the 7 over here. This is 7 vibration. This is the Chariot. Again, we see we have Baina here. This is the place of the divine feminine. This is the path that's activated all year, powerful path. And it connects to, so it's Baina to Gebura. Gebura is the Sephiroth associated with Mars. Mars is in Cancer for the first 20 days of May, and then it shifts into, or the first 19 days, I guess, and then it shifts into Leo on the 20th. Yes, on the 20th. We also see that over here we have the 5 vibration. This is the monthly vibration. This is the path of the Hierophant. This is the path of Taurus on the tree of life. Now remember, Uranus is in Taurus now. The North Node is in Taurus now. So not only do we have the vibration here, but we also have the North Node, Uranus. We have the Sun here. We have Mercury here. All those planets that are in Taurus will activate this path. This path connects Chokmah. Oops, excuse me. When I want it to turn, it doesn't turn, and then when I don't want it to turn, it magically turns. I don't know how this works. Anyway, we have Chokmah here, the Sephiroth of the Divine Father, Father God. This is energy moving out. This is masculine. This is the impregnator, the illuminator, the awakener. This Sephiroth is associated with Uranus, and where is Uranus? But Uranus is in Taurus. And then here we have Hesed. Hesed is associated with the planet Jupiter. Jupiter changes signs this month. It goes from Aries into Taurus. It moves into Taurus on the 16th, I believe. On the 16th. And it immediately makes a square to Pluto. So Jupiter spends about a year in each sign. So when it changes signs, it changes the energy, right? But we have Pluto there. We have that energy of Pluto, like as soon as it moves in, like boom, Pluto. And we start the month off with, which I haven't actually talked about yet, but Pluto stations retrograde on the 1st of May. So Pluto is sitting there right at the 1st of May, and sort of go vibrating out. And of course, we also have an eclipse on the 5th in Scorpio, in the moon in Scorpio and the sun in Taurus, right? So there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of tension. The fixed signs are very emotional. We're dealing with some really deep emotional karma here, really being stuck, really stuck stuff. And we have the power this month to unstick it. And that is going to be, for some, painful. For most of us, uncomfortable. But ultimately, when we look back at this time, we'll realize that it was a necessary step in freeing ourselves to be truly who we are. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. This is the chakras that are activated this month. Now, how your numbers and planets fall on the tree of life is sort of more of a personal chakra read when you're looking at this information. But for all of us collectively, the chakras most being activated are the third eye chakra, our intuition. So we have to trust our intuition. How is that being activated? It's being activated through the path of the chariot here, the 7 vibration, and also via the path of the vibration of 5. So we have both sides from the supernal triangle to the next level. This is the level of the soul. This is the level of divinity. We have both sides of that pumping on all cylinders. So there's a lot of information coming in. When things are along the side of the tree, it's as if it's in God's hands or goddess's hands, right? By the grace of the gods go we with that. All right, what else? We have the throat chakra activated through the 7 vibration, and the 5 vibration activates the throat chakra. Here we have this line here, which is Leo. So whenever things are happening in Leo, this gets activated. Mars moves into Leo on the 20th of May, excuse me. So we have that being activated. So we have this, and this all activated this month. And then we look to the solar plexus. How is the solar plexus activated? It is activated through this path, which is the Hanged Man path. Okay, the Hanged Man path. And when you're in a Hanged Man period of time, you do understand that there isn't much you can do but observe, respond appropriately, and if there's anything you can do, you need to do it. But if it's out of your control, you need to let it go. And there's a real sense of things being out of our personal control. However, we can focus our mind and our heart in a specific direction that will increase the likelihood that what we visualize and what we put out there will come to us. So it really depends on where you decide to put your attention. Okay, so let's take a look at the first week of May astrologically. So May 1st, right off the bat, Pluto stations retrograde. It only reached 0:22 minutes of Aquarius, moving forward into Aquarius. It's been in Aquarius since March 23rd, and now it starts to go back over that area of the chart. So it's moved 22 minutes. Now it's going to go back over those 22 minutes. And if we think of the changes we've seen from March, from that week in March, which was powerful, not just because of Pluto, but we also had the equinox that week when we had a new moon in in the first degree of Aries. We also had a new moon in the last degree of Aries. So there's a lot of a sense of new beginnings, new beginnings. And as long as Pluto's in that first degree, any planet that moves into a new sign is going to get affected by Pluto, sometimes in a more positive way. So Pluto moving into Aquarius and being in that first degree of Aquarius brings trines to the Libras, right? And brings trines to the Geminis, at least at the beginning degrees. It brings sextile energy, which is opportunistic, to the fire signs. It does, however, bring, is it sextile? It's sextile, yeah, sextile and oppositional and sextiles. And to fire sign, to earth, it's a little bit more difficult. To water, it's a little bit more difficult, but the water signs. So the aspects that happen aren't as easy, right? But all the same, that first degree, powerful degree. We also have on this day, the sun make its inferior conjunction to Mercury. Mercury is retrograde, went retrograde at the towards the end of last month, and it is retrograde until the 14th or 15th, depending on where you live. And the inferior conjunction is when Mercury is between the Earth and the sun, and so it's its closest path to the Earth. And so it's important that we go within. We have to shut out the noise and go within to our own inner voice within, because our voice within has something to say, and we need to listen to it. On the 4th of May, which is a Thursday, we have Venus make that first quarter square to Neptune. This is part of the Venus-Neptune synodic cycle. We'll look at that in a little bit. First quarter squares are crisis in action. We feel the need to take an action. Neptune is very idealistic. It can also be illusional and delusional. And Venus deals with relationships and what we value, what's important to us. Venus also deals with our money. We need to be careful about our money at this time. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It probably is. However, you might not be able to see it clearly. This might be, if you're going to do money things, it might be a good time to talk to somebody who is very good at navigating that type of information. You know, if you want to know about money, talk to the money people, right? Okay. On Friday, May 5th, which is 5/5, the 5/5 portal, Cinco de Mayo, as they say in Mexico. We have Venus making a waxing sextile to Jupiter. Venus and Jupiter are considered the benefics. This is a really nice energy. It's very social energy. So this is actually a good energy to, you know, go to a Cinco de Mayo. But you do have to be careful, because we also have on that day a full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees of Scorpio, with the moon at 15 degrees of Scorpio and the sun at 15 degrees of Taurus. Full moons are points of awareness. It's when something opens up to our awareness. And when you add an eclipse to the mix, this is when we can take these evolutionary leaps. This is when we can take the evolutionary leap. And sometimes even if we don't want to take the evolutionary leap, we sort of get thrown into it. Now, it is the 15th degree of the fixed signs, which is right at the middle of the fixed signs. It is the most fixed degrees of the fixed signs. And so when we have the most fixed energy, right, the sun in Taurus, opposing that fixed energy of Scorpio, fixed feelings, you know, like Scorpio can hold on to a feeling and have it be like a milepost in its life. And sometimes it's hard to let go of resentments because of that. And so this full moon in in Libra, I mean, in Scorpio, can show us where we have those resentments. Now, the south node of the moon, which is part of the eclipse picture, right? Because this is, the moon is actually on its own south node, is asking us to let go, to forgive, to release, to release. Okay, over here, I have this is the journey of Pluto, just to point it out. March 23rd to June 11th, Pluto moves. It goes from 0 to 22 minutes, and that's on May 1st, and it turns around, and then it goes back into Aquarius. It's going to be back into Capricorn from June 11th through January of 2024, and that's going to be, it moves around 2 degrees here, 27, 28, 29, 27, about 28 degrees to 30 degrees of Capricorn. It goes back into Aquarius January 20th of 2024 and is there until September 1st, interestingly enough. At that time, it moves through about 2.6 degrees of Aquarius, goes back, goes into Capricorn for one last time, September 1st to November 19th. The interesting thing about that, 2024, the interesting thing about those dates is that in the middle of that, or towards the end of that, I should say, we do have the presidential election in the United States. This particular journey through Capricorn is entirely in retrograde motion. Actually, is it? It would have to go direct. No, it would have to go direct. Anyway, ignore what I just said. And then Pluto goes into Aquarius and stays there for 20 years, November 19th, 2024, and gets out of Aquarius March 8th, 2043. So it's there for a long time. What we're going to see with Pluto going from Aquarius to Capricorn, Aquarius to Capricorn, is we're going to see the transition of power from the hierarchy Capricorn to a more horizontal, people-centered, group-centered. But we're all going to, it can get very tribal with that, and we have to be very careful that we don't get too tribal, to the point where there's always warring factions between the tribes. We can be tribal, we can stay in our energetic sort of field, but we have to find ways to connect with the other energetic fields. So there's a lot of mediation that has to happen, and a lot of connection that has to happen in order for us to, but things are not going to be the same. Things are not going to be the same. We're not, the way that we go about doing things is going to change big time. It has to. We don't really have a choice, because we've learned those lessons. Well, hopefully we've learned those lessons, and now we're coming into new lessons. All right, let's take a look at Pluto station. Here we have Pluto here stationing. That's what the little S is here. If you notice, Pluto is squaring the nodes. Pluto is squaring the nodes. Now, it's not exact. Pluto is going to go back into Capricorn, and the nodes are actually going to go into Aries and Libra. So when we have the actual Pluto square the nodes, the actual day it happens, Pluto is going to be in Capricorn, and the nodes are going to be in different signs. The north node is going to be in Aries. The south node is going to be in Libra. But as it stands, Pluto is still square the nodes. It's been square the nodes all year. It's getting tighter and tighter, and so we can feel it more. The resolution of when we have a planet square the nodes, we feel like we're stuck between the future and the past, and we can't seem to move through. There is a resolution node. The resolution node is the last node that went over this point, and the last node that went over that point was the south node. And so the resolution node for this conundrum of Pluto square the nodes is the south node. What does that mean? It means we need to go back to the past and review the past and let go of any pain, resentment, enmeshment. The Scorpio is emotional hell or it can be emotional hell. It's a beautiful sign. And if you're a Scorpio, you can have a beautiful life, but you do have your challenges. And if you have a beautiful life, it's because you've worked really hard to get there. So it's not without its effort. But letting go is not all that easy, says the Cancer right here. And so we're being asked to let go. We also have on this day that inferior conjunction between, now this isn't exactly because this is when Pluto goes retrograde, but we do have this conjunction at 12 degrees of Taurus, the sun, the Mercury conjunction to the sun, 12 degrees of Taurus, a young couple window shopping, the fascination of the youthful ego with the products of its culture. It says the ego becomes aware of what society has to offer, and its attention is turned outward. Keyword here, socialization of desires. So this really is kind of a connection to what is truly important to you. What's your bottom line here when it comes to love? What's your bottom line when it comes to money? What's your bottom line when it comes to security? What's your bottom line when it comes to how well you treat yourself? Pluto station retrograde at 0021 of Aquarius, an old adobe mission in California. The power inherent in all great human works to endure far beyond the worker's lifespan. The other thing we have to look at is we have to look at what is going on with Uranus. And why do I say that? Because Aquarius, well, Uranus and Saturn actually, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, the modern ruler of Uranus, and Aquarius is at 19 degrees of Taurus. We're gonna in a few more slides, we're gonna see what the 19th degree of Taurus is. Actually, I don't know if we do that. Do we do that? The 19th degree of Taurus. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It is a new continent rising out of the sea. Interesting. One of the things that I want to that I've been pondering with all of this energy, especially in Taurus with the eclipses and Pluto stationing and squaring, and it's going to be squaring Jupiter's moving into Pluto, it's going to be squaring Jupiter. Mars moves into Leo, it's going to be opposing Mars. There's a lot of we have two people in the news that have Mars at that first degree of Leo. One of them is Michael Cohen, and the other one is Volodymyr Zelensky. And Volodymyr Zelensky has his sun and his Venus in early Aquarius, where Pluto is. So we know that God willing, if he's kept safe through this process, that he is going to be, he's not really going anywhere. He's going to be somebody who is important in the future of how we live on this planet. So very, very interesting moment in time we find ourselves in. Okay, what do we have here? This is the 4th, I think. Hold on, I have to see. Yes, May 4th. We have that Venus first quarter square Neptune. We can see it here. Here's Neptune as at 27 degrees of Pisces, Venus at 27 of Gemini. This is a crisis point in the synodic cycle of Venus and Neptune. That synodic cycle began on the 15th of February, 2023, at 25 degrees of Pisces. So the initial conjunction of this relationship between these two planets, the Sabian symbol, a religious organization, succeeds in overcoming the corrupting influence of perverted practices and materialized ideas. Well, isn't that a can of worms? The power of the soul to intervene in the personal life and to induce a necessary catharsis. The soul will come in when we need to surrender. When we need to surrender our ego, the soul comes in full force and overtakes us and overcomes us. And the sooner we let go, the better, the sooner the soul can create miracles in our life. Quite honestly, my experience, my personal experience. So the key word here is purification, purification of the ego, I imagine. Now we have Venus at 27 degrees of Gemini, right? It's moved on. Venus has moved on to 27 of Gemini. A gypsy emerging from a forest wherein her tribe is encamped. Reaching out toward participation in a larger whole of mind-structured existence. This is about going out and learning about moving out of your tribe, right? Like expanding into a larger whole here. There's a lot of this energy of expanding into a larger whole. Square the Neptune at 27 degrees of Pisces. The harvest moon illuminates a clear autumn sky. The light of fulfillment that blesses work well done. So there's a promise of our desires being fulfilled if we're willing to get out of our camp, and with the gypsies, there's this familial energy as well. And sometimes the family is a beautiful thing and it's a place that we can stay safe, but there are parts of the family dynamic that can sometimes hold us back to actualizing who we really are. It's a balance. It's all a balance. All righty. May 5th, 5/5, Cinco de Mayo, a couple of things going on. We have another sextile here, right? Now we just had Venus and Neptune. Where is that? We had Venus. Oh, goodness gracious. Did I say sextile? Oh my goodness gracious. It's a square, right? Sorry, Venus square. I know what I'm talking about. I was like, wait a minute. Venus square. Now we have a Venus sextile. This time it's to Jupiter. The interesting thing about Neptune and Jupiter is they're both expansive energies. Neptune tends to expand out into the outer reaches of space. There's like into and beyond. That's Neptune. Jupiter is contained by Saturn. So you can expand through Jupiter, but you can't get past that. You cannot pass. You cannot get past Saturn. You cannot get past the rules of third dimensional reality with this. So this is, however, an opening aspect. It's a sextile. It's mentally stimulating. It helps us to converse, to be curious. Often a friendly interaction. We're dealing with the two benefics. It is part of the Venus Jupiter synodic cycle that began back on the 2nd of March at 13 degrees of Aries. It says here, an unexploded bomb reveals an unsuccessful social protest. The keynote, an immature evaluation of the possibility of transforming suddenly the status quo. This symbol reminds me of the insurrection, honestly. Just the whole image of it. It brings to mind that it was an insurrection, but it did fail. So that was good. Now we look at these two planets in sextile to each other, right? And we have Venus at 28 degrees of Gemini, so it's moved. Through bankruptcy, society gives an overburdened individual an opportunity to begin again. The release from unbearable pressures, freeing one for new tasks. Sextile, now sextile is inviting, right? It's in degrees of Aries. A large audience confronts a performer who's disappointed in its expectations. The necessity for mature preparation and self-criticism. Now, this combination reminds me of Trump, I'm sorry to say, and also perhaps Tucker Carlson. So we may see something may come up with these guys at this time. Of course, things are going to come up. Tucker is a Taurus, so he's not quite out of the picture yet. And of course, Trump Doesn't seem to ever get out of the picture, but he will when it's time, when we no longer need to see him. Fear not about that, but perhaps we're not quite ready yet, and his work isn't quite done. And now we have the full moon lunar eclipse, of course, on the same day as that sextile. And we can see here, we have the sun in a very close conjunction to Uranus, right? It's only what, 3 degrees, a little less. And then we have the moon here. We can see that it is within the range. In order for it to be eclipsed, it has to be within 18 degrees of the nodes, and that this is about 10 degrees. And we can see here that we have Black Moon Lilith square the full moon. Okay, Black Moon Lilith in Leo. Black Moon Lilith is where we're willing to go to extremes. Black Moon Lilith can also feel where we're being ignored. And if there's one Black Moon Lilith does not like to be ignored, none of them do, but especially Leo. And how do I know that? Because I have one. Don't ignore me. Oh, goodness gracious. There are times when I don't want you paying attention to me, and I'll just hide away like the crab that I am, but you can't ignore me. All right, even if you'd like to. So we have the sun at 15 degrees of Taurus, a head covered with a rakish silk hat, muffled against the cold. A man braves a storm. The courage needed to meet the crisis precipitated by social ambition. The key words here, what is revealed here is character under adverse circumstances. So we can judge character of a person by what they're willing to put themselves through in a way, or what they can overcome. And there's a lot to overcome right now. So there's a lot of characters being tested and getting a medal for it. You get the medal or the crown or whatever the heck they give you when you pass the test. We have the moon at 15 degrees of Scorpio, children playing around 5 mounds of sand. Early steps in the development of a mind seeking to be attuned to higher levels of human evolution. Keyword here, future-oriented growth. So this is showing, these symbols sort of go so hand in hand because it's with, when we're in these adverse and stormy situations, it really is an invitation for us to step up our game, so to speak, and evolve. The day 5/5 vibrates to a 17/8. That is the star card in the tarot, and it is associated with the sign of Aquarius. And we have Pluto, of course, in Aquarius. So there you go. There's the star card. And this, I love this. This is from the Light Seers deck. I love this star card. I think it goes really well with the whole energy of this full moon lunar eclipse. We do have to remember this is part of the eclipse season, and we are dealing with Scorpio and Taurus. Scorpio, death, Taurus, life. Lots of life and death here, guys. Lots of life and death. Okay. So very quickly through the next couple of weeks, second week, and this is just very, very quickly. I'm not going to get into it, but I want to point out some important things. We have Venus ingressing into Cancer this week and making it in conjunct to Pluto. So who's in that first degree? Remember, so every time a Pluto firing it to and let go. We have on the 9th, the Sun conjunct Uranus at 19 degrees of Taurus. Here's the symbol for that. Illuminate a new continent rising out of the ocean, a new surge, the surge of new potentiality after crisis. So we can see that this energy of crisis has been mentioned again, right? So that first week can be pretty crisis ridden. But of course, crisis and opportunity is the same glyph in Chinese. And so when there's a crisis, we have an opportunity to get out of the rut that we're in and do it differently Let's see. I think that's let's to the next week here. I'm just going to put degrees of Taurus on 14th or the 15th if you're, I believe, west of Central Time. So if you're west of Central Time. On Tuesday, we have Jupiter ingress into Taurus, right? Into that first degree of Taurus. What's at the first degree? Pluto makes a square, first quarter crisis in crisis point. First quarter square, crisis in action on the Jupiter-Pluto synodic cycle that started in 2020. We had 3 conjunctions of Pluto and Jupiter, and each one of those in 2020 correlated with a upsurge in the COVID numbers. Not to say that that's what this is going to be, but that was the initial conjunction that started this synodic cycle, which runs about 14 years. So this is the first sort of volley of that. So things from 2020, now we come into 2023, and we have the ball sort of is being passed to 2023 for us to take a necessary action. Okay, and what else do we have here? We have Mars moving into Leo. Did I put that in here? Oh, yes, here we go. Mars ingress into Leo. That happens on the 20th. And immediately after, just a few hours later, we have Mars make an opposition to Pluto. This is an important synodic cycle. Mars and Pluto cycles making the unconscious desires conscious. And whose unconscious desires? The world's soul. So the world's soul desires becoming conscious. And this occurs at 1 of Leo and 1 of Aquarius. Very, very powerful. Leo and Aquarius is the axis of love. We have, what is this, the 3rd week, I think? I moved my calendar. The 3rd week, Sun ingress into Gemini. That's going to feel, I think that's going to feel good. Let's see here. Mars makes a first quarter square to Jupiter. Remember, we have Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius. We have Jupiter move into Taurus, squaring that. Then we have Mars moving into Leo, opposing Pluto, but squaring Taurus. So we have this, and this is happening right on the nodes. The only place that there's a missing piece is in Scorpio, but the south node's in Scorpio. So this grand cross that we have at this time, very, very intensified energy, is happening in the first degrees, around the first degrees of the fixed sign. So if you happen to be one of those first degree of the fixed signs people, you're feeling this. You're feeling this bigly. All right, let's see. Is there anything else I want to say? I think that's it. Okay, so let me stop this share here. All right, so it's gonna be a month, guys. It's gonna be a month. I can't lie to you. And how exactly that's going to manifest, it's just going to require us to let go and to go with the flow. And for some of us, it's going to feel good. For others of us, it's not going to feel that good. But ultimately, it's all in service to our evolution. We have to do things differently because we cannot continue down the road that we're on, because it is Thanos. It is Thanos. It is death. And, we all die. We all die eventually. We all change form. The physical world requires, it grows, it grows, it peaks, and then it dies, and then it comes round again. So there's the cycle of that. But while we're here, we might as well make the best of it, and we might as well be the best we can be. and go with the flow, as it were. Allow your inner self, your connection to your inner, that small still voice within, to guide you where you need to go. Visualize what you want to see, focus on that, take care of things as they come up, but don't worry about things. Don't say, what if this, and what if that, and what if this? It doesn't, none of that is like, what if? Is it going to happen? It's got to be a much better chance of it happening if that's what you're focusing on. So focus on what you want to see in your world. Take steps, take practical steps. And there is a certain amount of sacrifice that has to happen. And so be willing to not get everything that you want, but you're definitely going to get everything that you need. All right. Well, I will see you next week for the week ahead. I'll do each week in more detail, but I wanted to sort of just give you an idea of the month. So hopefully this didn't go on too long. If it did, my apologies. And I'll see you again next week for the week ahead. Take care, everyone. Much love. Be careful out there. I love you. We're going to move through this together. Namaste.